everyone, and welcome to IoT Marketing Live. I'm Tiffany Nielsen, and with me is the CEO and founder of IoT Marketing himself, Johannes Beekman. How are you doing today, Johannes?
I'm doing great, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm amazing. And as many of you know, we just held our Green Things Summit, which was a huge success. And with an incredible lineup of speakers and an active networking experience, the virtual event yielded positive feedback and an exceptional user experience. And for anyone watching that has not yet been to our live virtual event, fear not, the event is still active and you can still access all of the bonuses, such as the virtual expo hall, all 6+ hours of sessions, as well as chatting and networking. And you can do so by getting your ticket now at iotmktg.com. Any feedback on the event, Johannes?
Well, as always, Tiffany, your panel discussion was great with great panelists and a fantastic moderator. But in general, the Green Thing Summit, it included a range of thought-provoking keynote speeches that really captivated our audience, and the active participation of the audience in the chat further enhanced the overall experience. So thank you to all the sponsors, speakers, and attendees.
Yes, thank you very much. And one of the topics that we discussed during the summit was grid stability and resilience. And with that in mind, our first story comes to us from electric.uk. And the White House just debuted a plan to expand the grid's capacity by upgrading 100,000 miles of transmission lines over the next 5 years. And the power sector aims to achieve this goal by deploying grid enhancing technologies like high performance conductors and dynamic line ratings that enable existing transmission lines to carry more power. It's a fast and cost effective way to unlock hundreds of gigawatts of additional clean energy, increasing grid reliability and resistance, reducing grid congestion, and cutting energy costs. And grid enhancing technologies, or GETs, would be deployed on existing lines in tandem with building new lines. To ensure the 100,000 miles in 5 years goal is achieved and to mobilize private and public sector leaders, the Biden administration has made funding available through the Grid Resilience and Innovation Partnership, GRIP. And for upgrades and to existing transmission lines, plus the U.S. Department of Energy today simplified the environmental review process for transmission line upgrades. What are your thoughts on these grid upgrades, Johannes?
Well, Tiffany, grid enhancing technologies are literally a no-brainer. They are part of the smart grid, and they are, as you mentioned, innovative solutions designed to increase the capacity, efficiency, and resilience of the electrical grid. And I'd like to go into a couple of the technologies that G gets typically used. So we are talking about these three primary types of technologies. One is the advanced line rating systems. So these systems provide real-time data on the capacity of transmission lines, where traditional static ratings are conservative estimates based on worst-case scenarios of weather conditions. So advanced line ratings adjust the capacity of the grid of the line based on actual real-time weather conditions, allowing for increased electricity flow without compromising safety. Well, the second technology that's being used is dynamic line rating. Now, DLR adjusts the capacity of power lines in real time based on environmental conditions such as temperature and wind, which can significantly affect the transmission capability. And the third technology is called topology optimization. This involves reconfiguring the grid dynamically to reroute power flows to less congested pathways. And let's not forget the power flow control devices. So these devices can directly control the path of electricity flow, enhancing the overall efficiency and reliability of the grid. They can be used to change the impedance in an electrical network, effectively redirecting power flows to underutilized lines and away from congested areas. Well, and the benefits of implementing GETS are significant, and you mentioned several already. It does give increased transmission capacity, and it does give enhanced renewable integration. So GETs facilitate integration of renewable energy sources by managing variable and geographically diverse nature of renewable power production more effectively. and it also provides improved grid reliability and resilience. These technologies enhance the ability of the grid to handle disruptions and fluctuations in power supply, thus improving its overall resilience. And by maximizing efficiency of the existing infrastructure, the GETs also are cost efficient. So they reduce the need for new infrastructure, which can be costly and time consuming to build. And of course, we'll have reduced congestion and lower energy costs. Efficient power flow reduces congestion, which in turn can lower energy costs by avoiding the need for expensive congestion charges or the construction of new transmission capabilities. In conclusion, grid enhancing technologies are critical components of the smart grid ecosystem. They offer practical solutions to modernize and optimize the existing grid infrastructure, making it more capable of meeting today's energy demands and integrating renewable energy sources efficiently.
Thanks, Johannes. And our next story comes to us from RCR Wireless as the Federal Communications Commission voted along party lines to reinstate Obama era Title II telecommunications regulation of broadband services, also known as net neutrality rules. Broadband is now an essential service. Essential services, the ones we count on in every aspect of modern life, and have some basic oversight, said FCC Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel. And FCC Commissioner Geoffrey Starks, a Democrat, said the restoration of net neutrality regulation is about ensuring that each and every American can use their broadband subscription to access the legal content of their choosing. It is about empowering consumers to control how they experience the internet while ensuring that their provider isn't impeding, blocking, favoring, or prioritizing certain content. It's about ensuring that broadband, the foundation for so many interactions every day, has real oversight. However, the action to restore the FCC's authority to regulate broadband services is under Title II classification, which will have to survive legal challenges, which are all but certain. And Republican Commissioner Brendan Carr called the move a power grab with a laundry list of bogus justifications. Meredith Atwell Baker, president and CEO of the CTIA, also anticipates that the action will be overturned in the courts. The wireless industry has delivered a world-leading consumer experience that is fast, open, and fair, Atwell Baker said in a statement. And the FCC's decision to turn back the clock and reimpose utility-style regulations threatens to undermine this achievement, disincentivizing investment, inhibiting competition, and diverting resources from critical efforts that would advance connectivity, such as creating a spectrum pipeline that will help ensure all Americans benefit from the wireless innovation and the competition that the wireless industry brings. Today's action exceeds the FCC's congressional authority, and we expect the courts will reject this effort by the agency to grant itself unprecedented power over such a critical part of our economy. And that was Atwell Baker's statement there. And 5G Americas took a slightly different tack in its response, calling for federal legislation to end this regulatory teeter-totter of uncertainty and establish a transparent framework of open internet principles. Johannes, obviously, this is a complicated matter, but what are your thoughts on net neutrality?
Wow, broadband doesn't like to be called a utility. That's new. Okay, so yes, it is complicated and it's a great idea. It's also contentious, as well you can see in what you just mentioned, and it's complex and it really embodies the struggle between innovation, regulation, and access in our digital age. Well, and you mentioned already, so the Obama administration, they adopted strong net neutrality rules in 2015. These, where they basically classified broadband internet as utility. 2 years later, the Trump administration repealed these net neutrality protections. So now we are back again. So let me take a deep dive. I'm not going into the political discussion, but let me explain a little bit about what net neutrality is. It is a concept, is a principle that ISPs, internet service providers, should treat all data on the internet equally without discriminating against or charging differently based on user content, website, platform, or application. This means that ISPs should not intentionally block, slow down, or charge money for specific online content. The idea is to ensure an open and fair internet where users have the freedom to access any web content at the same speed, and where startups and enterprises have an equal opportunity to reach their audiences without needing to pay extra for visibility or faster internet service. And like I said, I don't want to dive into the political discussion, but I do want to show that the net neutrality principle has implications also for IoT. And IoT, which, as we all know, it involves already a vast and diverse array of devices continuously transmitting data over the internet. So let me mention some key considerations for IoT under net neutrality. So first of all, of course, we have the equal data treatment. So under strict net neutrality, data from IoT devices, whether from a smartwatch, a home security camera, or an industrial sensor, must be treated the same way as data streaming from a video service or being uploaded to a cloud storage device. This means IoT data cannot be prioritized, throttled, or blocked based on the nature of the origin. The other aspect of this is the quality of service. IoT applications often have different requirements for network performance. For example, real-time health monitoring or autonomous vehicle communications require low latency and high reliability, which could benefit from prioritized data handling. However, net neutrality rules generally prevent ISPs from offering such prioritized services, which could impact the performance of critical IoT applications. And looking at net congestion and management, IoT devices can generate significant amounts of data, potentially leading to network congestion. Under net neutrality, ISPs are limited in how they can manage this traffic. They cannot selectively slow down or block IoT data streams to manage congestion, which could impact overall network efficiency and performance. And then talking about innovation and infrastructure development, some argue that net neutrality could discourage investment in advanced network infrastructure that is needed to support the burgeoning amounts of IoT data. ISPs might be, under this consideration, less inclined to invest in costly infrastructure upgrades if they cannot charge different rates for different types of traffic or offer specialized services that could help manage the diverse needs of IoT data transmission. And then, of course, let's not forget security and safety. Net neutrality also impacts how network traffic is secured, since ISPs cannot discriminate between types of traffic. They are limited in their ability to apply enhanced security measures to specific types of data, such as that from critical infrastructure sensors. This could raise security concerns, especially given that IT devices are often targeted by cyber attacks. So in the end, and that's where it always comes down to, it comes down to balancing the needs. The challenge in the context of IoT is balancing the foundational principles of net neutrality, ensuring an open and free internet, with the practical needs of IoT applications that may require more nuanced handling of data to perform optimally and securely. This may necessitate regulatory adjustments of or new approaches to network management that can accommodate the unique characteristics of IoT while still respecting the broader goals of net neutrality.
Wow, Johannes, that's a lot of information. Thanks for sharing those insights about IoT's relationship to the net neutrality. And our next story is from Reuters, as US President Joe Biden recently announced a preliminary agreement with memory chipmaker Micron Technology for up to $6.14 billion dollars in subsidies for two chip factories. The agreement signed by the US Commerce Department will fund facilities in New York and Idaho under the 2022 CHIPS and Science Act. The Biden administration has also reached an agreement to provide up to $6.4 billion dollars in direct funding for Samsung Electronics to develop a computer chip manufacturing and research cluster in Texas. And the funding announced is part of a total investment in that cluster that, with private money, is expected to exceed $40 billion dollars. And the government's support for this project also comes from, again, the CHIPS and Science Act, which President Joe Biden signed into law in 2022 with the goal of reviving the production of advanced computer chips domestically. This seems like a lot of money to me, Johannes, but what are your thoughts on the recent efforts for chip manufacturing in the US?
Well, Tiffany, first of all, semiconductor fabs, as you're learning here, are very, very expensive. Second, the CHIPS Act has resulted in several agreements leading to semiconductor firms like Intel, TSMC, Samsung, Micron, and Global Foundries um, getting money for more fabs. So This initiative, the CHIPS Act, is designed to significantly increase the semiconductor manufacturing capacity here in the United States. So we've talked about it in over the past couple of months, and let me give you an overview of the largest initiatives. So, under the CHIPS Act, Intel received the largest direct funding, about 6.5 billion, and this investment supports expansion of Intel semiconductor projects, including new fabs in Arizona and Ohio, and expansion of facilities in New Mexico and Oregon. Intel's planned investments are expected to exceed 100 billion over the next 5 years. So that comes on top of the 6 billion. Then TSMC has secured 6.6 billion in funding to support its investment of over 65 billion in three new fabs in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. These fabs will focus on advanced 2 nanometer and 3 nanometer process technologies, and that's the technology that we use to build AI chips. And this investment aims to bolster US capacity for manufacturing leading edge chips. Then number three, Samsung, as you mentioned, is set to receive up to 66.4 billion, which supports its investment of over 45 billion for developing two advanced foundry fabs in Austin, near Austin, Texas. And those fabs will focus again on 4 nanometer and 2 nanometer technologies. This effort also includes expanding existing facilities to boost production of advanced silicon on insulator technologies. Now, Micron, different story. Micron has been allocated 6.1 billion to support its expansion in New York and Idaho, and this funding aims to enable Micron to establish a 100 billion mega fab in central New York, which is expected to be one of the largest and most advanced memory chip production facilities in the US. And then last but certainly not least, Global Foundries received 1.5 billion to support its 12 billion dollar expansion in New York State. And this investment is intended to enhance its manufacturing capabilities and capacity to produce secure, high-performance semiconductors. So these investments are literally pivotal in revitalizing and expanding the US semiconductor industry. And one of the specific objectives of the CHIPS Act is to significantly boost the United States share of global semiconductor manufacturing. And while the Act itself does not explicitly state a target, how much it will increase, the number that keeps popping up is that the plan is to increase the US production level from currently 12% to 20% by the end of this decade. And this is the broader goal associated with the CHIPS Act.
Thanks, Johannes. And the next story really caught my attention, and it comes to us from Axios. Some branches of the US military are hitting the brakes on generative AI after decades of Department of Defense experiments with broader AI technology. Businesses are racing to put generative AI in front of customers everywhere, but military experts say its strengths and limitations need further testing and evaluation in order to deploy it responsibly. According to the article in a new essay in Foreign Affairs, Jacqueline Schneider, the Hoover Institution's Director of Wargaming and Crisis Simulation Initiative, and AI researcher Max Lamparth write the large language models have potentially dangerous tendencies to go nuclear. And when they tested LLMs from OpenAI, Anthropic, and Meta in situations like simulated war games, the pair found that the AI suggested escalation, arms race, conflict, and even use of nuclear weapons over alternatives. It is practically impossible for an LLM to be taught solely on vetted high quality data, Schneider and Lamparth write. Older forms of machine learning based AI are already deeply woven into the US military, which uses it in everything from supply chain analysis to interpreting satellite data. But apparently, the emergence of generative AI has happened on a lightning time scale that has confounded the Pentagon. And the Space Force paused its use of generative AI in September of 2023. And in June, the Navy's Chief Information Officer, Jane Overslaw Rathburn, concluded that while generative AI can be a force multiplier, commercial models have inherent security vulnerabilities and are not recommended for operational use cases. Military use of AI faces challenges ranging from getting AI models to understand military jargon to concerns raised by lawyers over the handling of data, experts told Axios. And military and intelligence experts Axios spoke to said another big problem is that AI models can sift through vast quantities of data, but they can't tell you how they arrived at any particular answer or suggestion. That makes it tough to base consequential decisions on their output. I would have to agree with that. Generative AI is not good at dealing with unexpected events. And in this article, it highlights Hamas attacking in no way anyone thought Hamas could attack, said Amy Zegart, senior fellow at Stanford's Hoover Institution. Wow. So, what are your thoughts, Johannes? I know you're such a big advocate of AI. So, what are your thoughts on the military's AI trust issues?
And the answer, Tiffany, as always, it depends, in this case, on how AI is being used. First off, generative AI for simulated war games at this point in the development of Gen AI is a big red flag, a giant no-no. So let me start with a quote from Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, at a conference at Stanford University last week, where he said that ChatGPT 4, which is the gold standard right now, is the dumbest model any of you will ever have to use again by, by a lot. He also mentioned that with a high degree of scientific certainty, GPT-5 will be smarter than the mildly embarrassing at best GPT-4. Can't wait for ChatGPT 5, Tiffany. So one of the common complaints about Gen AI is that you don't know on what data the LLM models have been trained. And the second related complaint is that they won't disclose their sources. The third complaint is that they infer or hallucinate. Now, I work with ChatGPT, Bing slash Copilot, and Gemini on a daily basis, and I spend a lot of time fact checking and verifying inferences. Upon request, however, I can ask ChatGPT and Bing to provide their sources, and I can check the sources and make sure that the data is correct. And then the second one is that what I've noticed, ChatGPT uses high quality sources. For example, for the CHIPS Act information that we mentioned earlier, ChatGPT likes to use the original White House press releases. To give another example, because of course OpenAI know that they have an issue with sources, but to give another example, the Financial Times and OpenAI recently struck a content licensing deal. From my experience, ChatGPT 4 is being updated every other week, has been for the past month already, and is continually improving. So ChatGPT has improved significantly in the past 6 months since it came out, and OpenAI is working hard to improve its source slash training material. So returning to the foreign affairs story, to put it simply, you cannot use, and I agree with that statement, you cannot use any of the current commercially available LLMs to run war games. One reason is, as they found out, the training set used to train these LLMs is massive, making it impossible to determine the basis of a model's conclusion. A second, and that related problem, is that the current generation of LLMs is not adept at reasoning or explaining how they reach a certain conclusion. Sam Altman, again, mentioned in an interview with Bill Gates this past January that OpenAI was focusing on building better reasoning capabilities. So very likely, ChatGPT 5 will have improved reasoning capabilities. However, you don't always need LLMs that digest massive amount of training data. So last month at the Green Think Summit, I introduced Tiny ML applications for sustainability. Now, Tiny ML uses much smaller LLMs, and in addition, it's not just TinyML, but in addition, Apple is also working on smaller LLMs and is expected to introduce a bunch of smaller LLMs at the WWDC 2024 in June of this year. So to conclude, I would argue that for war games, we should use several smaller specialized LLMs that are trained on vetted high quality data. So I agree with your initial analysis, Tiffany, but I I would say they're using the wrong LLMs for this application.
Thanks, Johannes. And AI certainly is a hot topic. Our next story is from The Verge as a new bill seeking to track security issues by mandating the creation of database recording all breaches of AI systems has been filed in the Senate. And the Secure Artificial Intelligence Act would establish an Artificial Intelligence Security Center at the National Security Agency. And this center would lead research into what the bill calls counter AI, or techniques to learn how to manipulate AI systems. The center would also develop guidance for preventing counter AI measures. The bill will also require the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, and the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency to create a database of AI breaches, including near misses. Warner and Tillis proposed a bill focused on techniques to counter AI and classifies them as data poisoning, evasion attacks, privacy based attacks, and abuse attacks. Data poisoning refers to a method where the code is inserted into data scraped by an AI model, corrupting the model's output. And it emerged as a popular method to prevent AI image generators from copying art on the internet. Evasion attacks change data studied by AI models to the point that the model gets confused. And AI safety was one of the key items in the Biden administration's AI executive order, which directed NIST to establish red teaming guidelines and required AI developers to submit safety reports. For anyone unfamiliar with the term, red teaming is when developers intentionally attempt to get AI models to respond to prompts they're not supposed to. Ideally, developers of powerful AI models test the platforms for safety and have them undergo extensive red teaming before ever being released to the public. The Secure Artificial Intelligence Act will have to go through a committee before it can be taken up to the larger Senate. Johannes, what's your take on the AI security bill?
Well, the short answer to this one, Tiffany, is that we need it right now. And so let me give you just one example. In the very near future, we won't Google anymore. So we'll just log in into our favorite generative AI chatbot and ask, for example, my iPhone screen is broken. How can I replace the screen? And the Gen AI will reply with, oh, that's easy. Here are the instructions. Do you want me to order the repair kit? So you check everything, everything looks fine, and you reply with, this looks good. Yes, go ahead and order the kit. But what if that AI had just been hacked and instead of ordering one repair kit, it orders 10 of them? And it doesn't order from your normal supplier, but from a supplier you've never heard of. And of course, I'm making this up, but currently data breaches are so common that we're not surprised anymore by yet another data breach, and they happen at least on a weekly basis, if not more. In the near future, we'll be talking about AI breaches just as we discussed data breaches only a few years ago. So yes, we need a security bill and we need more.
Thanks, Johannes. And I'm going to save my thoughts and comments on this for our Intelligent Thinking AI Summit coming up this July 18th. And you can join the event. You can even speak at the event. We're looking for sponsors, advertisers, and attendees. And you can register and take part in the event all by getting in touch with us at iotmktg.com. And now for our last story, which comes to us from RCR Wireless. Siemens and Microsoft will converge two different digital twin programming languages as a unified standard in order to simplify and scale IoT projects. They are working with the W3C Standards Organization to make Microsoft's open source digital twin definition language, the DTDL, compatible with the W3C's emerging thing description standard, which is already being pushed by Siemens. They said the effort will facilitate the easier exchange of digital twin data and models. Johannes, what are your thoughts on standardizing digital twin languages?
Well, Tiffany, to be frank, so when I first read this article, I was surprised because we are building digital twins now for many years, and we typically use high level languages like Java and C++, and even fourth generation languages like MATLAB. But as I delved deeper into the article, I realized that both W3C's emerging thing description standard and the Microsoft Digital Twin definition language are domain specific languages, so another category of languages. The Web of Things thing description language is a DSL, domain specific language, specifically designed to provide a standardized way to describe the metadata and interfaces of IoT devices. This facilitates the integration and interoperability of these devices across different platforms and applications. While the Microsoft Digital Twin Definition Language, or DTDL, is another DSL designed for describing digital twins and their interactions in the context of IoT solutions. So, by combining these two languages, we can turn every IoT device into a digital twin. Now, there's another twist to the story. On May 6, 2024, the Biden-Harris administration issued a notice of funding opportunity, a NOFO as they call it, seeking proposals to establish and operate a CHIPS Manufacturing USA Institute. This institute is focused on digital twins for the semiconductor industry. The Chips for America program has reserved 285 million for a first of its kind institute focused on the development, validation, and use of digital twins in semiconductor manufacturing, advanced packaging, assembly, and test processes. So wrapping up this story, I don't think that the Microsoft Siemens announcement is a coincidence.
Thanks, Johannes. And we'll be talking a lot more about IoT and digital twins during the Summit of Things, which returns this October. And again, we have opportunities available for speaking, sponsorship, advertising, and attending. And again, you can get your free early bird pass at iotmktg.com. And as a reminder, IoT Marketing also provides end-to-end marketing, PR, production, content creation, design services, and more. And you can reach out to us for a simple consultation. We are also able to do consulting for you. So whatever it is that you may need to make your 2025 and beyond a success, reach out to us. We're happy to jump on a call as you start to put together your marketing plan for next year. We can help you even create it. So get in touch with us. We'd love to have a chat with you. Again, iotmktg.com. Any final thoughts, Johannes?
Well, you mentioned all the services that we have, and yes, they're all available for anybody who is looking for a boost, who needs more lead generation, who is wants to fill up the pipeline. But and they can also do that with the exciting program that we've lined up for 2024, Tiffany. So the Green Thing Summit was a great summit, and it's still available if you want to check out how our summits run. But there's also a lot of interest in the upcoming summit, which is Intelligent Thinking AI Summit, as well as the Summit of Things in October, as well as the Industry Insights IoT Awards. These are three events that you don't want to miss, that you definitely want to have on your calendar for this year and to help you with that extra boost of your sales pipeline. So check them out, check them all out, and register for these events.
Thank you, Johannes. And our 2025 will also be full of information and events that you also want to be a part of and attend. And some of those will be our Emerging Trends webinar in January. Our Green Things Summit will be back again in April. And all of these are annual events. So we will have the AI Summit and Summit of Things and our awards again next year. So be sure to go to iotmktg.com to learn more. And thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Johannes. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye, Tiffany.